right? Because there's going to definitely be a lot of volatility. We just don't know what 2025 holds. I can't say it's going to be categorically week. There are so many unknowns. We don't know what's going to happen with tariffs. We don't know what's going to happen with the bans on companies like TikTok. We don't know what's going to happen if the de minimis thresholds go away. So there are a lot of things that are uncertain. We don't know anything about. We don't know what the future of interest rates holds. So there are a lot of uncertainties, and there are a lot of sensitivity analyses that analysts are running as we think of best case scenario, worst case scenario. It is kind of all we can do is operate as best we can with the information we have at any given moment in time. E-commerce continues to grow, but even e-commerce is slowing. And kind of one of the things about Walmart is that their e-commerce is outpacing the industry. They said this past quarter was growing at 20%. We have e-commerce as an industry in the United States growing in the low teens, high single digits. So they're significantly outpacing that sector. But Walmart's so large that unless the stores are also outpacing, which at the moment they are, there are definitely headwinds ahead.
The stock is down by 8%. Sucharita, appreciate it. Sucharita Kothari there at Forrester Research. This guidance does not include tariffs. That's the big story here.
Yeah, how can they even begin to include tariffs? And right now, investors don't have a lot of patience with anything that isn't stellar and explaining how you're going to get around some of these obstacles.
It's a very uncertain year ahead. Up next on the program, jobless claims.
Behind the bright lights and adrenaline of pro sport is an equally exciting world of negotiations and deal making. That's what we cover each week on our podcast, The Deal. I'm Alex Rodriguez, former baseball player turned business executive.
And I'm Jason Kelly, a journalist at Bloomberg. Over the next couple months, we'll hear from all-stars like Jay Williams.
I want to be an owner one day.
Billie Jean King.
Learn the business.
Paul Rabel.
Don't chase trends. Get ahead of them.
And so many more.
To the world of business, Joe Matthew and Kaylee Lines deliver news, insight, and analysis live 2 times a day, every trading day. Balance of Power, twice daily, only on Bloomberg.
Asia is at the forefront of some of the world's biggest stories. I'm Sherry Young in Tokyo.
And I'm Heidi Stradwatts here in Sydney, where the trading day begins. We're here in the centre of all the action to get you set up with the numbers, news and knowledge you need for the day ahead.
Demand is indeed recovering. We've been waiting for this moment.
The opportunity of a century.
Join us on Bloomberg The Asia Trade. Weekdays only on Bloomberg TV. Context changes everything.
Welcome to the world of decentralized finance.
Massive outperformance from Bitcoin.
Bloomberg is covering all things crypto, the people.
The tectonic shift emanating from Washington.
All we're looking for is clear rules and an ability to build in the United States.
Crypto shouldn't be partisan.
The transaction.
Really a record-breaking moment. Crypto VC is back.
And the technology.
It's really the beginning of a global on-chain economy.
And if America doesn't embrace it, we're going to be left behind.
Bloomberg Crypto, only on Bloomberg.
Do you think it'll be the case where someday you will be an investment committee or I'll be an investment committee and we just apply AI to decide whether it's a good deal or not, or we're not going to be there anytime soon?
I don't think we'll be there in the near term, and even because, being on investment committees, there's the analytics of the math, there's the people, and then there's judgment. So analytical math, I think AI will help us get way more refined. Right now, we have analysts building models upon models. Our typical investment memo is 86 pages. So we could refine that down very, very seamlessly to pieces. The people aspect to it, to make a judgment call on, do I believe this entrepreneur is going to go the next mile? Do I believe that the background of the entrepreneur, who they are, what they stand for, their values, their family, that's the harder one. I think AI is going to take some time to get there. And then the final piece ends up being judgment. And I don't believe we've seen anything yet that gives us a sense of judgment that we're able to apply.
Equity futures on the S&P negative here by a third of 1%. We're down by about a quarter on the Nasdaq 100. The Nasdaq on a 5-day winning run coming into Thursday on a Russell, the small caps down by a quarter of 1%. If you switch at the board, jobless claims about 10 seconds away. At the front end of the curve, the 2-year yield is lower by 2 basis points. The 10-year down by 3. It's a break of 450, 449.95. With that jobless claims data, let's cross over to Bloomberg's Mike McKee. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, John. We're waiting for it to drop. 219,000 is the number after 214,000 revised up by 1,000 last week. So no real change and no real issue for the economy in terms of the labor market at this point, which is what we've been hearing all week from members of the Federal Reserve. On a continuing claims basis, 1,869,000. That's down from, or that's up from 1,845,000 the prior week. Now, the Philadelphia Fed is also out, and the Philly Fed comes in at 18.1. That's down a lot from 44.3. The forecast was for being down a lot more. Prices paid is the one that everybody is following with that one. It is up to 40.5 from 31.9. One other thing on the jobless claims that I know everybody's been interested in is what are we seeing in terms of the layoffs of federal workers? Initial claims for unemployment benefits filed by former civilian employees total 613 in the week of February 8th. That's the newest numbers that they have. That's an increase of only 14 from the previous week. 399 filed by newly discharged veterans. So the numbers, if we are seeing a significant number of people laid off, have not started to move yet, but the layoffs didn't really start until the last week or so, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Mike McKee, thank you, sir. It's a small upside surprise on jobless claims. No drama here. It comes in at 219. The estimate was 215. This was something that BNP Paribas said in the last week or so. Comfortably numb. The Federal Reserve is comfortably numb. They're not going to move in one way or the other based on this information.
Which is a reason why people are looking to the growth potential and how that could be a feature that really will play in. What you're seeing right now in terms of response is not much, but you have seen that downward trend of 10-year yields and 2-year yields throughout the morning. And it's not because of this question around the Fed. It's around question of growth. It's around questions of supply and what's going to happen in the long end. And it's around questions like how companies like Walmart will handle some of these tariffs at a time where the consumer isn't necessarily accelerating.
You can't provide guidance, and I think that's the key theme here. It's very difficult to provide guidance. When we caught up with the Treasury Secretary about an hour ago and talked about things like issuance, he can't provide guidance on what the issuance is going to look like, the profile of that issuance a year out, 2 years out, because we don't know how much we're going to need to issue. We also don't know what the economic backdrop will look like either, and how low or high yields might be at the long end.
And we've been talking about at what point this has ramifications, this uncertainty for the economy in the here and the now. Right now, you're not seeing layoffs accelerate. We'll parse through this and we'll be watching this high-frequency indicator. But amid this paralysis, you're seeing a lack of conviction among corporate executives that need to take plans that will ultimately decide who gets hired and who gets fired. And I think that's what people are trying to assess at this moment.
Claudia Advisors joins us now for more program to that later. Claim when you market from above from 35,000 feet, any reason for concern at the moment?
So 35,000 feet, the labor market still looks really good. Now, clearly we have to pay attention to the layoffs that are happening within the federal government and how that might spread through contractors and other kinds of grants that are held back. But that is in terms of at the high level, that's just one corner of the labor market. But I think back to the point you had about this uncertainty, we came into this moment with hiring rates that look kind of unusual for the amount of layoffs. Like layoffs look really good, but we are in an environment that isn't absorbing the workers who are out there looking for jobs. So if we do get into a place of layoffs, then that can be a real problem. It can turn into a problem very quickly. Not a problem now, but it